Good evening, everyone. We are back with another Disney review. Today, we're up to number 33, and we're going to be talking about Disney's Pocahontas, the 1995 movie, directed by Mike Gabriel and Eric Goldberg. As you can see, we're in the same room again. This is we're a 3 for 3, I think, at the moment, aren't we? With Aladdin and Lion King, we recorded those in one go. We're just doing Pocahontas tonight, though, so no Hunchback of Notre Dame. That'll be next week. We're still waiting on you with your internet, aren't we? That's doing what it does. So
doing weird things that we'll never understand about the modern world.
That's it. But we had a proper bros night in this. We got drinks. I had Guinness, and you had a couple of cold ones, some Carling.
I don't drink it. Well, I do. No, I don't drink Guinness.
And I just it made me laugh earlier. You know, we arranged this for you to come over, and I was like, "Oh, I'll pick up some beers. Oh, we'll get a Chinese. You know, we'll have a lads' night in." Watching Disney's Pocahontas, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Before we get into this,
I think Guinness tastes a bit like coffee.
What does
Guinness?
I'm not a big fan of coffee. I can kind of see what you're saying a little bit.
I was going to say I don't drink Guinness often, but I'm just saying.
I mean, we should have thought of some like proper Pocahontas-y themed drinks. I don't know what we would have been drinking. Probably like ale or getting dysentery from like a dodgy riverbed or something. I don't know.
What? Try to think like a Native American bit. John Smith's.
Yes. There you go. There you go.
That was easy.
I want to talk about the absolute chore it was to watch the version of this film that I personally wanted to watch, and I wanted to show it you. So there are two versions of this film that exist. There is the theatrical cut version, which most people probably seen. If you watch it on Disney Plus, it's the theatrical version. If you got it on DVD, chances are it's the theatrical version. There was a special edition, a 10th anniversary edition of this film that was released, which added in an extra song, which was removed. So it was written and it was animated for the actual release, and through test screenings, they kind of went, most people seem like they're tuning out at this, so we're going to remove it from the film. And we'll talk about this when we get to the music section. I think it's integral. I think it's the heart of the film. It's the main love theme. And it's only ever been made available on the 10th anniversary edition, which I picked up a copy of off eBay, not knowing that this was a Region 1 version of the DVD. Now, I don't have a Region 3 player or a Region 1 player. So, and then I did some digging, and apparently you can't get this in the UK. Not that I know of anyway. But when I bought this, the seller didn't specify that it was Region 1 only. So I got that lovely little message when I popped it in my DVD player and said, "This is not your region." I was like, okay. So I went online and I tried to find this film available online, the 10th anniversary version, and I couldn't find it. I'm like, we're in 2024. Surely this must exist on the internet somewhere. And the only place it existed was split into 23 individual parts on a YouTube playlist. So I took matters into my own hands. I found a download of the Blu-ray of Pocahontas. I downloaded it, put it into an editing suite, and added the song back in myself, exported that, and that's the version that we watched tonight. So it's as closest to this version as we can get. I had to take matters into my own hands. So the dedication to watch this movie, and we're here to talk about it. So 95's Pocahontas, this is a bit of a weird one because this was one that Disney was pushing. Like, this was in pre-production, this was in production at the same time that Lion King was, and it was really a split down the middle of the company. Most people went to animate on Pocahontas because, you know, the producers, the studios were convinced this was going to be the next big thing. This was going to be the next Disney film to win them Best Picture, like happened with Beauty and the Beast a few films back. And, that Lion King film, that film about lions, it's this experimental film that'll never make it big, that won't be anywhere near as successful as Pocahontas. And obviously the rest is history, isn't it? So, bit of an outlier, this one. Similar to, in many ways, actually, and it's the same director, Rescuers Down Under. It's one that, this is definitely a lot more popular than Rescuers Down Under, I will say that. But even then, this stacked up with the rest of the films in the Disney Renaissance often dips under the radar, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We were kind of saying it before. Why does it dip under the radar though? Realistically, because
Yeah.
the thing is, Rescuers Down Under, it does because it doesn't hit the same formula that all the others do. Like this is big Broadway musical, fucking, you know what I mean? That's what Little Mermaid, Pocahontas, Mulan, all those sorts of stuff. But Rescuers Down Under isn't. So it kind of is the like the black sheep. It's the odd one out. Whereas this one isn't. But it's kind of it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the first one to be based on like actual history, isn't it? I'm trying to think if there has been another one based on actual history, but it's a weird choice for Disney. I think it was the director that had the idea. I think it was like one Thanksgiving, and he pitched it at that big pitch meeting that we keep talking about, where they sat all the producers down, the animators, and just said, throw ideas out at us. And this is one that came up, and this was fast tracked. You know, I think it was Jeffrey Katzenberg said that he wanted it to focus on more of a romantic aspect to the film, the relationship between her and John Smith, because he wanted to try and capture lightning in a bottle like he did with Beauty and the Beast, with the whole love theme to the story. And yeah, this is going to be a really difficult one to talk about, because I don't hate this film, but then in many ways I find this film pretty unremarkable in many ways too. It's
kind
strange.
of like it's a bit darker in ways.
In ways,
you know, not
subject matter, probably more mature themes. Yeah,
not like fully, as in like you've got loads of shit in Tarzan. It's obviously a lot darker, but it's like you say, subject matter's a lot darker. Maybe it's that. It's like it's that kind of. To me thought it was very how to explain it? Like there's obviously a love story going on, and that's like your forefront, and that's the big thing. But then there's loads of stuff going on in the background. Like there's going to be a war. There's going to be this. But it feels like it's not glossed over, but they keep going on this love story. So there's like a thing happening that you don't see as much. So maybe that's why it always has something that you think is missing, because you think there should be this big thing where it's like, it sounds weird describing it, because it sounds like I'm like bitching about it, but I'm not, because like, do you know what I mean? 'Cause it's not a bad thing. It's just that might be why. You know, it's kind of like, you know, Van Halen released 6 albums with David Lee Roth, and you know, when they released Fair Warning, great album, but it kind of dipped on the radar a little bit because because it was a bit darker. You know what I mean? It was a bit darker, you know, theme and everything, and you know, it was just a lot of people just didn't get it. But when they paid for it to be on radio, which they did, they paid radios thousands and thousands. It then got airplay, and everyone loved it. So same as Pocahontas, everyone loved it, and it's great. So very, very similar things, really. Fair Warning, Pocahontas. I've always thought that's for a long period of time. But yeah, no, I think it is a great film. I don't agree with when people say the whole what's it called? You know, when they say the tone, the silliness, and then the darkness. I don't agree with that. I actually like it. I think the contrast goes well, and it does that with. They do have a lot of Disney movies. I don't see it, but I've heard a lot of people say that.
I think it's a sticky issue when you're dealing with real history, though. And actually, I haven't read loads on the real life events and Pocahontas herself. I know the broad strokes. I kind of did a quick little read, but there was a lot of names. There was a lot of places, and you know, the mind can only take so much. It's like when you go to a museum and you start reading all like the little captions next to every item in there, and the brain can only take so much. By the time you've got to the second or third caption, you've just instantly forgot everything that you've read. And it was kind of the same. There was a lot of pages on Wikipedia I was reading on it, but suffice to say, very strange, interesting choice for Disney to take on this as an animated classic, especially considering like the previous films that they've been successful with. But then also when you're dealing with real people, and you know, they went to some of the reservations, I believe, and some of the places where, you know, like Virginia and everything where this is set, and they spoke to descendants of Pocahontas to get historical accuracy and everything like that. When you see the final product, historical accuracy doesn't even come into the goddamn film. It's you know, it's created out of whole cloth.
How to say hello and goodbye.
Wingapo.
That's it, Wingapo. And what was goodbye?
Anna or something.
Anna, that was it, Anna, and then a couple of things. But that is because we did check that. I was very like,
and we've learned that. That's educational.
We've learned stuff. Wingapo means hello in
oh god,
something.
Powhatan.
There you go. So, but that's the thing. It was historically accurate to that sense. There were things that they took, but to be fair, when I did look at that, I did think, I assume it would be accurate. I couldn't see Disney just making up a word.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I did think it would be accurate, but the most I thought Disney would probably do is it wouldn't be like, because obviously there were different tribes and stuff, wasn't there? So
Mhm.
it would have been like they might have taken it and been, oh, you actually got hello from the wrong tribe. That would have been cool to find out if they made that mistake. But I did think Disney would have done the right thing.
Yeah, I think the people that were descended from her, there was two. There was Shirley, who's and then her Native American name is Little Dove, Costello McGowan, and Debbie White Dove. And apparently, when the head animator, the one who did Ariel, actually was the chief animator on Pocahontas, and he said when he saw the two descendants, he could see in his mind what the design for Pocahontas was going to be.
Very like Tiger Lily.
A little bit. Well, that was the original concept, wasn't it? With the story treatment, the person who came up with the story had Disney's Pocahontas on the front, on top of a picture of Tiger Lily from Peter Pan. But yeah, so the animator saw these two descendants, and in his mind, he knew what he wanted the design to be. And apparently, she was also based on a lot of models at the time. You had like Naomi Campbell and Kate Moss, and lots of influences like that.
I can see that with the shot of her climbing up the tree.
Yeah, and that profile shot where John Smith is sort of stalking her with the gun and jumps through, and she stood there in the mist, kind of, and looks like she's in some kind of shampoo commercial with the hair billowing majestically.
You've got Ariel, and who else does it? There's quite a few, don't there? Like Disney princess moments.
Oh, I mentioned that. I love the way that they animate hair. It's always in, like Little Mermaid, that underwater thing. But yeah, they've always been good with that. I think like Jasmine as well.
Yeah, I was always a bit sort of annoyed by because if you go underwater and do that, your hair's going to stick to your face. Doesn't happen to her. I don't get it. I was always a bit confused.
So yeah, we were talking about the animation actually watching this, and
it's very good.
There is a stylistic change with how they've depicted the humans in this. I think definitely, even comparing it to stuff like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and things like that, there is a style difference with this. And I think you put it into words better than I could. You mentioned it was more of like a chiseled look. Yes. There is definitely a style to it, and even then, like, the style doesn't necessarily always marry up with everyone. You've got someone like Radcliffe, or you've got someone like John Smith that have like a very detailed face, and even Pocahontas's father, there's a scene where she's on screen with her father, and the animation style on the faces is almost completely different. Pocahontas's face is a lot sort of more blank, I say, like devoid of features. It's a lot more angular.
It's very woman accurate
and flat. Yeah, and then
but it's all very chiseled and realistic looking in a way. Like it's all rather than just like the smooth, like round kind of cartoon face. It all looks very like they.
And I guess that matches the more mature tone, maybe, of the subject matter.
I was going to say, like, there's a lot of attention to detail, not overly detailed in the sense of cheekbone here, cheekbone, but there was a lot of cheekbone's actually quite a good example. You could see like the jawline. There was a lot of that going on. Mm-hmm. So it all looked very realistic and had a similar look to Road to El Dorado. Similar character-wise.
Like, yes,
in the faces.
Yeah, like, I can see that.
In the design wise, maybe not exactly the same, because now I look at it, they also look very similar to like Emperor's New Groove, like that kind of style, but similar sort of like in comparison to like, I don't know, Rescuers. Looked in that. So, or even Little Mermaid, because they were a lot more just rounder faces, cartoony, whereas this is a lot more, I say realistic, but you know what I mean.
I think there is the tone. There are some moments. You have your classic Disneyisms in there, right? You've got like Miko the raccoon and Percy and the slapstick going on with that. And I feel like that's just what you come to expect from a Disney film. I think the disconnect with this one is the fact of what it's based on. And I think that can lead into some sticky territory. There's a story, I can't remember the name of the person they went to see on the reservation and things like that. I think it was reservations they went to, or they spoke to some of the ancestors or Powhatan people. And they were quite happy to give a lot of information over on what they knew about the culture back then and stories from back then. But then when they saw what Disney had done to it, and they weren't going for like a historically accurate depiction of the events, and they were going to bomb off and do their own thing, and it was going to be this very romanticized and fabricated version of the events, it really annoyed a lot of the people, and she regretted having her name attached to the film. And that is the kind of territory you're going to land with this film. Now, I don't get up in arms about this film at all. I think some of my favorite historical films are wildly inaccurate. Funnily enough, also another one that stars Mel Gibson, Braveheart. is one of my favorite films ever made. That film is like 1% true to the actual events of what happened, but it's still an entertaining film. And I think this film falls into that for me as well. I still really enjoy this film. It ain't one of my favorites, I will say that, and it's certainly not one of my favorites from the Disney Renaissance for reasons by the end of this review. Hopefully I'll come to verbalize and understand why. But I can understand if you're of that culture, if you're of that people, and you know a company says, "Hey, we want to make a film on Pocahontas." You're like, "Great, I'm going to tell you all that I know," and you get this. I can understand that being disrespectful. I suppose.
I think it's the most unsatisfactory ending out of all of them, though.
I love the ending to this. I'm totally not with you that I love the ending.
But it's like it's good, but it's not satisfactory in a lot of ways. I don't know how to describe it, but because it's very.
Is it you wanted him to get the girl at the end?
Yeah, like
and be
not
together.
That, it's not that kind of thing, and it's just like they disappear, and also because I don't think it has a big bombastic ending. Obviously, yeah, you know, there are things concluded, like Ratcliffe gets taken away, all that sort of stuff, but like, it's not like some big. Like it feels very mediocre. The ending, it feels like there's a lot of stuff that kind of happened. It's like, yeah, kind of cool. It happened. Yeah, cool. Next. You know what I mean? Like it was a very there are events that happen in the movie. Nothing feels like a big conclusion.
Is it the lack of a third act action scene? Because they gear up for war and then obviously it doesn't happen.
Exactly. I think that's probably one of the things because it's one of those what you expect doesn't happen. Which is, you know, maybe why, we give Last Jedi a lot of shit. Maybe it's just because we expected stuff to happen that didn't happen. Maybe we should give Last Jedi another chance. I don't know. That's right. If
JX is watching this, he's going to be very happy right now because that's like his favorite film ever. But I can see that. I mean, this couldn't have ended in all-out war because I know the themes they were trying to get across in the film. It was end fighting. We need to all get on with each other and be colors of the wind and all that. And I get it. And it's a really nice message, to be fair. And it's a good message. And I think it's handled really well. A little bit heavy-handed in the film, but it is a Disney film. But I quite like the ending. And I actually quite like that it's a little bit more downplayed. I will say certain aspects, if you're looking at qualities of it in terms of the formula from the Disney Renaissance, you've got the animation there, wonderful. You've got the great voice acting. The music is incredible. I really think that Alan Menken, pretty much outdid himself with the score for this one. It's wonderful. But like the villain to this for me is pretty weak. Like Radcliffe, like he's not a memorable Disney villain.
He looks like Mr. Darling
from Peter Pan. Yeah, you said a cross between Clayton from Tarzan and and
a bit of Captain Hook.
A little bit of Captain Hook.
He looks the same. He's got the big chest.
Yeah,
he's got. But then I think all watching these now, I always look for things that are like, what other movies are they similar to? What's the other similarities? Because you find obvious ones in stuff like I can't think of a good example now.
But you're talking about like other Disney references, like Aladdin and stuff, where he turns into other characters.
Exactly. So like, there's some obvious ones, but I always look for things, and even that when you find characters that are similar. Because we've been doing that since the beginning, really. Because obviously now they do them almost every movie. Because we didn't find one in this one, but they do them in almost every one where they have, like in Frozen, you've got Rapunzel's there, like she's physically in Frozen. You've got things like that now in like the modern era, but they weren't always doing that. But there were always similarities that you went, that's definitely the same thing, or like, do you know what I mean? And we always look for that, and. I just saw that and I just thought it's another one of those things. So it is always interesting to see.
And I think that I do like my hidden references sometimes, but maybe again because they were trying to go for we're going to depict real events. Well, I say real events, you know what I mean? With this film, we're going to do away with that. So you're not going to have any fourth wall breaking moments reminding you that this is a Disney film, despite there being slapsticky animal sidekick characters, which very much reminds you that it's a Disney film. But yeah, like the villain is his voice fantastically well. David Ogden Stiers playing the character. He also plays Wiggins as well. I didn't realize that he played both characters in this. The voice of Cogsworth, really talented. Like the singing and the different voices he can do. Like it's all fine, but if you say to someone like, "Oh, who's your favorite Disney villain?" I guarantee no one is going to say Governor Ratcliffe. Someone will probably say that and be like, "Who?" And you'd be like, "Oh, the bad guy from Pocahontas." And be like, "Oh, the purple guy."
But no one would say Horn King either.
No, I know that's
you
true.
think that would be because Paul King is someone that you go, nah,
And he's great.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a be Maleficent, but it's Haunting. You'd agree with say it's amazing. Whereas Ratcliffe, would you? Like you said,
yeah, and like the villain doesn't. He gets his comeuppance in the sense that his men turn against him, and he's going to be taken back to England and tried and things like that. But
he's very like the poacher, like in the sense of he's villain. He is a villain. He is the villain, but he's not your Jafar, your Maleficent, or whatever.
Yeah.
He is just kind of like. The best way to describe it is so Jafar. If you took Jafar out of Aladdin and you just put someone else, it's like, yeah, but they don't have the style of Jafar. They don't have this. Or you took away Hades from Hercules. You'd need someone big to fill his shoes. Whereas, like, if you took away like Ratcliffe and just put another leader, you could just have another leader. The poacher again. If you took away, just put another. You could do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are just a villain that's there rather than this iconic like, we love this one.
Honestly, I'm thinking about this film, and I don't think it's. I mean, it is a weird choice for a Disney film. I will say that it is a weird choice.
7 out of 10.
But I don't know if that's my issue with the film. Honestly, like think about it, the characters are pretty bland across the board. They are pretty either one-dimensional or there's not much charm. I don't want to say humor or entertaining quality to them because you don't want this to be like a laugh a minute kind of film because it's not that kind of film. Billy Connolly is in it and he's great, instantly recognizable voice. Christian Bale's in this movie too as Thomas. So
before he was Batman.
Yeah, you got the voice of Megatron as the hummingbird, and I'm thinking, did the hummingbird even have any lines in this? It just goes like tweet, 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 doesn't it? And that's Megatron. So yeah, I don't know if it's it's the subject matter or the story of the film because I think that can be fine. I think it's honestly just the characters are a little bit lackluster for me. I think like you've got John Smith and he's heroic and Mel Gibson's great, but
it's the same if you could replace him with someone and it could still have a good turnout.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It could be any hero, it could be any villain, it could be any, and that's probably like you said, that's probably what lacks the most. Whereas when you pick Aladdin, if you took away Aladdin and put someone else, they wouldn't maybe have the charm that Aladdin does. They wouldn't have the charm that Jasmine does. They wouldn't have the humor that Jafar. Like it's those kind of things that I think, like you could replace them with anyone. And it's quite weird when you think about it like that.
I want to talk about the animation now because as we talked about like the animation style on the humans, how
there was a fly.
Yeah, so I just thought
it's still there. It's still there. Just keep flying
around. The fact that this is the director of Rescuers Down Under. Now that film was the first one I think to be all done digitally, and they could improve the colors and everything because it was all done digitally and everything. And Rescuers Down Under looks incredible. We talked about that, how you've got these massive environments and cliffs and mountaintops and forests and the outback and everything, and the colors that they used for it, the sunsets and everything like that. Same goes for this movie too. The actual colors and one of my favorite freeze frames right now, you've got all these like beautiful sunset sort of pink skies. You've got the actual sort of colors of the wind that swirl around. I think they really capture the environment very, very well. And it makes it feel like this huge, like when John Smith's kind of like bombing off on his own, and even when Pocahontas is she's paddling down the river, you really get a sense of the kind of geography of this place and how amazing it looks, especially when you get like colors of the wind and things like that, which is the whole point of that song. It's how amazing nature can be and how amazing the world can be. But they really effectively capture that on the animation. And I'm always like that with a lot of the Disney films, and not even just the Disney Renaissance films, but I do really think that's where the animation shifted into fifth gear a lot of the time. And there are moments in this where you just sit back and just go, look at that shot, like look at that background,
the houses and the
there's just so it's a fantastic looking Disney film. It really is, and I can't take anything away from the animation. I was going to ask you this question. I think you did tell me during the film. I may have forgotten what it was, but do you have like a favorite still image or a favorite single shot? That was it.
Where she goes when it was the whole after. It is after, isn't when she goes like, it's like, do I choose the shallow, the smooth path or the rough path? But she goes over the rough bit just as she goes down.
She goes over the waterfall, and then that whole next bit there in the rapids.
And you see her in you see her face that because it's that kind of innocent. I'm going on an adventure kind of thing. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just really cool, and just the way it looks as well, with the colors, the facial expression, everything. That's always what I remember this movie as. I just always remember that bit with the boat, always. And what I do remember as well, really, really well, is she looks down, and then there's the waterfall, and it's fucking long. And as soon as she goes, it's a little hill.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that was lackluster, wasn't it?
Disney play with that sometimes. There's a bit in Disney's Hercules, which I'll bring up when we get to it, where they play with that a lot and doesn't really work.
Very irrelevant. I just said lackluster. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a card called Blackluster Soldier. Is that a play on lackluster? Blackluster.
I guess so.
I feel like it could be.
Well, it depends. Is it a good card or not?
It's a pretty good card, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was in 2002. Like now, they've just changed the game, and it's just like.
Okay.
But back then, when it came out, it's fucking amazing. So
yeah.
It just seems a bit weird. Like I feel like Blackluster Soldier is a play on Lackluster Soldier.
Maybe. I think if they did want to make it a play on word lackluster, they also should have made the character a bit like, it's not that great. The
character was wicked. The card was wicked. I've still got it because it's amazing. I think I've got like 4 copies because I've got a shiny copy. It's amazing. But anyway,
Nice.
but that's my point. Is I've just thought of that now. And it's lackluster. You know, just one of those things.
That song that you mentioned there, well, that shot from it just around the river bend, that's one of my favorite songs in the film. We'll talk about the music in its own section, but that's one of my favorites. And when I watched it the other week, so I've actually watched this twice. Usually, I'm doing what you usually do. You watch the film like multiple times. I watched this last week because, you know, we did Aladdin and we did Lion King.
Black Cauldron was my record. I watched it 4 times.
Yeah, you watched that film a lot in the lead up. But I'd watched Aladdin and Lion King the other week, and I was like, yeah, we're in the Disney Renaissance, and I'm loving all these films, and I just wanted to get to Pocahontas straight away. So I watched it last week, and then obviously watched it again with you tonight. And during that scene, when I watched it last week, I got something I call Disney chills, which to me are a real thing. Disney chills, and it doesn't have to be.
What else it gives you? Chills.
It doesn't always have to be Disney. It can be anything, but it's something that you connect with, whether it's nostalgic, whether it's you find something epic in a film. It can be a piece of music. It can be a single shot. It can be a moment in a film, and you physically get goosebumps. And the hairs on your arms like stand on end, and you just like, you know. And I was just taken in by the animation, and I had the volume on quite loud, and the chorus hit like "I look once more," and I was like, oh, Alan Menken's amazing score, and the fact that song almost got cut from the film too. Another one. We could have had another tragedy. We could have had another song added to the 10th anniversary edition, but it's one of my favorite songs, and the reason that it was in the film was they kept saying, you know, the classic, what they call it, an I Want song. You've got Part of Your World, Ariel, and so many other, you know, characters. I Just Can't Wait to Be King, I guess, is an I Want song.
Frollo's one about the gypsies.
Well, he wants Esmeralda. I guess that counts as an I Want song. Is that the villain's song, though, or is that an I Want song? It's a bit of both.
It's a bit of a rapey song, isn't it?
I guess the big I Want song in that is Out There, isn't it? It's Quasimodo saying, I want to be out there and living among all you people.
Nah, he wants the woman. He wants the gypsy.
But they said that in this film, like, Pocahontas doesn't really have an I Want song. So this was one that they crafted to say that which life does she want to go after? Does she want the one that's expected of her by her father and, you know, the steady husband and the kids and the picket fence, or does she want a life of adventure and she doesn't know where the wind's going to take her, kind of thing? It's a great song. It's a great moment.
Bumpy one, or she went down the rocky path.
Which
I respect.
She likes it rough.
I respect that. I respect that in a woman.
My favorite single shot is in the other song that Pocahontas sings in the movie. It's Colors of the Wind, and it's right when the first chorus is about to hit. Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? And it's almost done in this very wavy, oil pastel kind of color. And again, like the sunset kind of colors, you've got the pinks and you've got the sort of like aquamarine blues in there, and it's this wonderful wispy kind of look. It almost looks like when you see the original pencil sketch and they use it like a flip book and you can see it moving, it looks like that on screen. And I know that's a weird thing to say because that's kind of how all the animation's done on the screen, but it looks like that rough shaded pencil-y kind of sketch before eventually transitioning into the more detailed colorized animation that you get throughout the film. That shot's amazing. I've just always loved that. That's such an iconic shot for me. But there's so many examples of it all the way throughout the film. So the animation is second to none. Like it's a different style, definitely, but it still has all those awe-inspiring moments that you come to expect from a film.
Do you know what
the Disney
like?
Renaissance?
I didn't like the reason that they could communicate.
It's yeah. This was always going to be a difficult thing for them to get around. It really was. And you know what? When I watch the movie, it doesn't bother me. And I guess because I go, oh, well, it's a Disney film, I'm going to let some things slide. But on the surface, it is pretty lazy writing. So they establish at the beginning of the film, we hear Pocahontas and she's talking with, oh God, what's her friend's name in the film?
Crap, what's her name? I know what she looks like. I remember very well.
Nakoma. She's talking to Nakoma and they're talking in English, right? But then later in the film, we're meant to infer that every time that we've heard them talk before that point, we need to suspend our disbelief and assume that they're talking in their, Native American language. She meets John Smith and there's this moment where he's trying to converse with her and he's like, you don't understand a word I'm saying, do you? And he hears her speaking to him in Native American.
Yep.
And there's a language barrier. Obviously, they can't talk to each other. And then through the powers of mystical bullshit wind magic from potentially the spirit of Pocahontas's deceased mother, she learns the power of speech and English and can instantly talk.
I can't remember what this is from. It's really annoying, but my favorite was there was a TV show or a movie or something I watched. Or a video game or whatever, and there was like people from like another planet or whatever they met, and they were like, "Oh, you speak English?" And it was like, "Well, no, I'm actually speaking whatever language it was," which weirdly enough is exactly the same as your language. And that was my favorite. I was like, "That's a good way to get around it, to be fair," because technically that's possible.
Yeah,
like weird magical bullshit, no, but yeah.
I mean, how would you get around this in the movie? It's that there's no way.
And again, there is a talking tree, so
there is a talking tree. Which
like
was
the one from Early Learning Centre.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone in the UK can remember that. For anyone who's not from the UK, there's a chain of stores called the Early Learning Centre. I mentioned this in the Lion King review, where I bought a lot of plastic animal figures back in the day because I loved animals. And I think it was there, wasn't it? There was like a giant, robotic, terrifying tree. Can you bring up a picture of it on your phone? We'll hold it up to the camera.
Yeah,
this thing will give you nightmare fuel.
It was
horrific.
Great. I just remember used to go in like with my mum or whatever when I was younger, like we go shopping, and I go there and I used to just stand by the tree. It had a big green button, and I'd press it, and the tree would open its eyes and torture. So hang on.
No, this ain't you commonly got like tree beard. This is terrifying.
This is amazing. Right. Hang on. This.
You got it.
Yeah, it's oh crap, hang on, let's zoom in. There you go.
Yeah, let's see.
This is this.
So check this out.
You used to go in there as a kid and stand in front of that, and it was giant, it was like fucking huge, and you press a green button, and it used to open its eyes and it used to talk to you. And it was great. Now, when you're a kid, you've got to think, you as a kid, put into perspective, this is you as a child, right? And then that is actually it's a good let's do this. This is a good perspective to go with. Right, you hold that.
Okay.
Just because otherwise I don't want to hold that.
Okay, so
so that's how big it was in comparison to you. It was this huge thing. You'd go in there. And it would be this big fucking thing, and the face would be like here, and then it would have the big tree trunk there. So, yeah, that's what it was. That was the size comparison.
Did we really need Gimli's battle axe for that for that demonstration?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like looking at Gimli's battle axe as a midget. Wait, Gimli is a midget. But you know what I mean? It was. That's the kind of comparison it was, and it was. It was great, and it was probably came from Pocahontas. I mean, this was in 1995. I'm thinking of when I was there, so maybe it was modelled after Mother. What's she called? Mother Tree.
Grandmother Willow.
There you go, Mother Willow, Grandmother Willow. Maybe it was modelled on that.
So the original concept for the character was called Old Man River, I think it was going to be. And I can't remember who they offered the role to, but he turned it down and said he felt like she needed some kind of maternal figure in her life for the character. So eventually it transformed into Grandmother Willow, a character that the producers and I think Jeffrey Katzenberg really didn't want in the film. Like when they said we want a talking tree that is the embodiment of of Pocahontas' grandmother. He was like, absolutely not. And then apparently at a pitch meeting, he said, "Oh, but we can have the tree talking puns, and there can be loads of tree puns like my bark is worse than my bite." And you know, all of these other ones.
You know, the annoying thing about inventing a character like that, you have to fucking stick with it. Like it's one of the things that I've always said. Like I've watched things or played games or whatever, and characters will like there's a Final Fantasy character that will always rhyme at the end of every fucking sentence. She will say something. I can't think of any off the top of my head now, and this is how hard it would be. Every sentence she rhymes the next sentence, and I'm sat there playing that thinking, this must be a chore. After about 4 or 5, you guys is kind of cool. And then after an hour in, you go, fuck, we got to stick with this for the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, that must be a chore. So I'm just like, you know, that's probably, I don't know. But if that was me, that's why I wouldn't go for it. I'd be like, no, because this would be fun for 20 minutes. But after that, it won't be any fun. You have to kill off the character.
But she doesn't have that many in the film, does she?
That's what I mean. So,
she says these vines still have some snap left in them or something. I think she says, you know, my bark is worse than its bite. I think she says that. But I don't remember there being many other ones. But apparently the fact that this one guy was like, well, we can have her say loads of puns, that instantly won over every other producer in the room. And they were like, yeah, oh God, we got to get her in the movie. Like, let's have loads of scenes with her in, actually. And that's all it takes, you know. I wonder if that's how the pitch meeting went for Batman and Robin. Oh, we can have him have ice puns? Sure, yeah, let's get him in the fucking movie.
Who did that, though? Who created Batman? Why would they do that? Who created Batman and Robin? Like, but then again, they created the 60s series and they probably went, that was successful. So, like,
yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. I keep saying that Batman and Robin is just a 90s version of the 60s show.
I wasn't a fan of the 60s show, so, you know.
It's great.
I do have a Cesar Romero Joker figure, though. Because
it's got
yeah, that's why I do have it. It's great. But aside from that, I'm not a fan, really.
Sometimes you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Not really my vibe.
Any other character? Honestly, that's it for characters for me. If I had to pick a favorite character in the film,
even what's his name isn't that. There's no depth to what's his name, the dude that gets killed, the guy she's supposed to marry.
Cocoam.
Yeah, there's no depth to him really either, is there?
Not really. Like a lot of the side characters, like you have, as I say, like Christian Bale and Billy Connolly, but they're not in it loads and they're not particularly memorable, even though they've got distinct voices. Well, Billy Connolly certainly has. And even the villain, I'm usually, the villain's my favorite character in this. But with this one, even still, he's got a great song. He's got 2 great songs, actually. Savages is I really enjoy the beat to that and how it builds.
You know who I like? What's his name? Looks like Lumiere.
Oh, Wiggins.
Is it Wiggins?
Yeah. I feel like we could have got more from him, though. Like, even then, as a comedy sidekick, he's downplayed. You know what? I'm going to say my favorite character in this film is Miko, the raccoon. I think he's pretty cool. One of my favorite moments is when he picks a fight with Percy, the pug dog, and he grabs Flip, the Biggles. Yeah, Biggles. You might have seen the picture of my cousin's dog in the window sometimes, but you eagle-eyed viewers. He looks exactly like Biggles, my firstborn child. And Miko the raccoon grabs the hummingbird Flip and uses like as a little sword. And I quite like that moment. I loved that moment as a kid, and he's cute. Raccoons are cool when they're not rabid. They're pretty cool animals. I enjoy them.
I like raccoons. I realise they're quite big though.
But they are. Yeah.
Big. I thought they were like little. Have you ever seen a lemur?
Yes.
Lemur. Yeah, they're kind of like cute raccoons. Like they're the smaller ones with the big tails, but they're very similar, aren't they? I don't know. I could be wrong here. They are similar, but like raccoons, they're kind of like red pandas.
Red pandas are cute.
Yeah, they're really aggressive as well, though. They are like short women. They're really aggressive, really cute, but really aggressive. And when they sleep, you're like, oh, don't wake up, please.
Yeah.
They're like that.
That sleeping dragon. So right there, where we were going to say, like, who are our favorite characters, I think right there, I've probably nailed why one of the chief reasons that that I'm kind of like a bit meh on this film. I like aspects of it, but it doesn't really come together for me. And it might be that fact. I've said, who's your favorite character in Disney's Pocahontas? I'm like, if you ask me Hercules, I'll be like Hades straight away. You know, Aladdin, Christ, take your pick. Jafar, Genie, or Iago. You know, there's loads. Lion King, Timon, Pumbaa, Scar.
Who's in Passion of the Christ?
Mel Gibson directed it.
Yeah, it's just because you said Christ, I went, hang on.
Jim,
I don't know why
Jim Caviezel.
my brain just went, as you said Christ, my brain went Passion of Christ, Mel Gibson. I have weird connections in my head, but yeah, there's a connection. Yeah, I would say Miko as well, to be fair. He's, because like you say, when he does the sword with the
hummingbird.
That's it, hummingbird. And yeah, and what was it when he gives that weird, when does he give that like kind of like not snarly, but that kind of cheeky look where he sat on the boat?
When he sat on the boat?
Yeah, he sat on a boat and he gives like a cheeky look. When
is it towards the beginning where he's fighting with Flit and he jumps off the?
No, it's not
waterfall?
It's not towards the beginning. It's literally, it's like with John Smith is there. They do something. Is it Colours of the Wind? I can't remember. There's a shot either way, and I just think he has these moments and he's cheeky, and he always has that cat and mouse thing with Biggles, and like, do you know what I mean? There's always that cat and mouse thing going on. And I think, you know, he's the one with the personality. Obviously Percy, that's the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has personality, but I just don't like pugs. Like but they do look very similar, both of them. They look exactly the same in a lot of ways.
I think it was a good choice for them to go with, I say realistic animals, but ones that don't talk, because that was the original concept, was that all the animal sidekicks, in fact, they're going to have all the ones that you see in the film currently, plus there was an extra one. It was called Red Feather, who was going to be a talking turkey, who they wanted John Candy to do the voice of. So, you know, the director of Rescuers Down Under, John Candy played Wilbur in that film, and I love that character.
He doesn't do much anymore, does he, John Candy? a bit recluse.
But yeah, they couldn't really get the character to it. There is concept art for the character. I was surprised about that. I never knew about this character until maybe a couple of hours ago. And apparently he was going to be kind of like a ladies' man turkey, and he was just going to be one of the other sidekicks to Pocahontas.
Was he going to talk?
He was going to talk. It was fully animated, and then John Candy passed away 2 years before this film was released. So then they was like, okay, we can't get him to do the voice now. And then by this point, the decision was made that they wanted the animals to be more realistic and to go with pantomime. You know, they were going to mime a lot of stuff. They were going to gesture. And they thought that was incredibly difficult to do for a turkey character because of feathers. You know, with the raccoon, they said that they've got the kind of like the eyes, it almost looks like a mask on, and he's got like the little claws, you can gesture with that. But then again, they have Flit, who's a bird.
You know, and Paul Stanley was originally meant to be a raccoon. He was. Well, he's meant to be the bandit.
Oh, okay.
Like a thief bandit kind of raccoon looking, like, you know, that was his original design.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually, to be fair. But then he just went, I really want to be a star. So
of course he does. Of course he does. How humble.
I know.
So this film won 2 Academy Awards. They wanted to push this for Best Picture, but it just won 2 Academy Awards for Best Musical Score for a comedy or musical, and Best Original Song for Colours of the Wind. Deservedly so. As I say, I think Alan Menken really outdoes himself every single score, and that will certainly be the case for his next one, which is Hunchback of Notre Dame, which in my opinion, I don't even think that it may have got nominated. I can't remember though, actually. I'd be surprised if it didn't, but I know it didn't win. Absolutely robbed. I'm not sure what it was up against that year, so I'll check that for next time.
Really would have been a great world in Kingdom Hearts.
It would, yeah. We were talking about this because
great.
A lot of the other Disney Renaissance films have been done in Kingdom Hearts, with the exception of Rescuers Down Under. But as we said, like we can kind of understand that, yeah. So if we're going all the way back to, so Little Mermaid's been done a few times, Beauty and the Beast has, Aladdin, Lion King, Hunchback of Notre Dame has, Hercules has been done many times, Mulan, Tarzan. So right there, you've covered all of them. The one that isn't covered in that roster is this one, Pocahontas.
But why?
And I think it would be a great looking world. You could have boating sections on like the kayak. And
you would have Donald Duck and fucking Miko, like proper, like there would be a cat and mouse between them.
Yeah.
Like you could do that. It would be absolutely amazing. I don't know why they've not done it. I mean, they don't even, if they wanted to steer away from, we're going to hunt the Indians, or if they really wanted to, they could have just in Pocahontas' life. They could just do that in her, like when she's in the village.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that whole thing. They could.
No, I know.
It's like they What was I going to say? So, like, for instance, the original, the original like, in Little Mermaid and the first Kingdom Hearts, there's no human world. She wants to go to other worlds. It really goes well with the Kingdom Hearts thing. They could do something like that. Don't have to, but even if they include the whole Red Indian savages thing, I don't understand why that's a problem. I really don't. And I don't think, even in this stupid woke world, I think if you didn't call them savages, I don't understand why that would be wrong. Because in this woke world, you can't call them savages because it's stupid and the world's fucked. But take that out then. What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
I don't know why they haven't used it. And considering Kingdom Hearts started in 2002, you'd think, I don't know, it's just a weird one that I don't know why they haven't used. It's something that I think would go very, very well.
But, and there's loads of ways around it, as you said. Like, even if they didn't want to have John Smith or Ratcliffe in there, I think you might have to have John Smith because it's kind of like the main love story if they want to stick to the film a little bit. But you could have instead of the white man, Ratcliffe and, the British, you could have the Heartless show up. And you could have, the chief, like, these shadow warriors, we haven't fought against these before. Like, how do we fight against them? And you and Donald and Goofy, you help them out. And then by the end, it's like, you will always be welcome in our village, Sora, or something like that. That's how you do it.
That's how it ends.
Yeah.
And it's great. And that would make perfect sense. I don't know why they've not done it. They might do in future. I mean, they're gonna crank out Kingdom Hearts games until after we die, because that's what they do. But will they do it? To be fair, it's really weird because it's the Disney Renaissance. It's the one that is just a little bit less.
Yeah.
So if they were to include it now, which I'd say they might not. But if they were to include it now, it seems like one of those of like, you've done all the best ones. You know what I mean? And it's one of those of like, you're including it. All right, cool. But it's like, if you start with the best, it doesn't look anywhere near as good kind of thing. But you could say that for any Kingdom Hearts game. There's no way they planned to do Kingdom Hearts 4, 5, 6, or whatever that, keep going as they are now. Because they started with using Aladdin, Hercules, and, they had Beauty and the Beast and, all that sort of stuff. Whereas now anything will be lower than what they use because they use all the top ones first. So I guess they could still use it.
So I think it's fair to say probably out of the Disney Renaissance, the three quote unquote black sheep of the family is Rescuers Down Under, Pocahontas, and I'd say Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, because I didn't realize it was Disney Renaissance, but like until we started doing this, I didn't think about it. I thought, oh shit, I thought it came out in 2000 when I was younger. So yeah. So
if we were going to rank those in terms of black sheepedness, in that we're going to rank the most underrated, the ones that most people have never heard of, probably be almost certainly Rescuers Down Under. But then it's like, which is more popular then? Is it Pocahontas or Hunchback of Notre Dame? Because I'd actually almost say Pocahontas is slightly more popular than Hunchback of Notre Dame even. But when I talk to a lot of people really like Hunchback of Notre Dame, so I don't know.
See, I don't know, because it's hard, because I've never been a big fan of Hunchback of Notre Dame. I've not, so it's one of those where it's hard for me not to be biased because I've just not been a big fan. So it's hard for me not to say, oh, that was,
I'm hoping that changes next, like when you rewatch it,
it'll probably be okay. I've never been a huge fan. It's always been cool, well done. You know what I mean?
I adore that film. It's just,
it's better than Attack of the Clones. I'll give it that.
Jesus Christ.
it's like, most things are, to be fair. Even Last Jet. No, I'm joking. But like, it's I've just never been a huge fan. But that might change.
That's fair. I hope it does. I mean,
I approve though.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's
39.
Is that
UK list 39?
Fantasia.
It's the next one after Fantasia.
Right. Okay. I was thinking it's before. That's why I came up. Okay.
Let's talk about. I mean, we talked about the behind the scenes of it. What is interesting is the original concept. What the director wanted to make with. He really wanted to work with the story artist Joe Grant, and the two of them initially worked on an adaptation, and they pitched it for an adaptation of Swan Lake. And I thought that could be really interesting. I could kind of see that working for Disney. Honestly, I really could. But it was apparently really negatively received by the script readers, and it was tossed out almost instantly. And I'm wondering if that, I don't know, if someone got someone drunk in a bar, if notes were exchanged, if someone overheard a conversation or something. But it's very strange to me that kind of around this time, maybe was it like a year or two after, you had, I want to say it was 20th Century Fox, but I might be mistaken, The Swan Princess, which I think I mentioned last week, which is one of my favorite animated films from the 90s. I haven't watched it in a long time, and it has all of the Disneyisms. Right around this time, especially with the Disney Renaissance, they were making it big. You know, some of the most lucrative films of all year. Some were getting up, you know, Best Picture and things like that. And a lot of studios were trying to get in and trying to recapture that formula. So you had a lot of films by DreamWorks, or you had a lot of films by 20th Century Fox that were trying to do that same thing. Fantasia is an example, animated and directed by an ex-Disney animator, actually, Don Bluth. And he quit right around the time of Fox and the Hound. And The Swan Princess very much fits into that category. With a song in that film, Far Longer Than Forever, that almost sounds identical to Beauty and the Beast. It's almost note for note. It's very, very close. And they have a pop version as well, just like all the Disney films did. So I think that could have worked. And then eventually the ideas blossomed into the director wanted to do an animated musical set in the American West. And then, you know, one thing leads to another, we get Pocahontas. Should we talk about the music for this thing? Because I think that's a...
Do you know what? The music is as great as the music is, and it is. You've got, obviously, Colours of the Wind, you know. As great as it is, it's hard to see this movie as a big musical as well.
I see it as a musical. It does hit all the beats still.
Yeah, I do see it as a musical, but it's not one of those where it's got this standout song, do you get what I mean? I don't know. It's, to me,
it is for me.
The music is great and it's there, but it's all very kind of like cool. It's all just kind of moves with it. It's hard to see it as some big epic, if that makes sense.
Oh, I totally disagree with that. I think Alan Menken really outdid himself with this. I think his best score is By a Country Mile, Hunchback of Notre Dame. That straight up biblical shit in that score, which makes sense because it's a lot to do with religion, but that is epic and sweeping, and that could be in any big, massive, epic cinematic film that you could ever wish to see. I can't wait to go back and watch that next week for the next review. But I really think, other than like Beauty and the Beast, I think this is Menken's best stuff that he's done for Disney.
Yeah,
I love all the songs. The score itself is wonderful, and the leitmotifs. The lyrics as well. Some of the lyrics are a little bit hit and miss. So Stephen Schwartz or Schwartz, I don't know how he pronounces his last name. He's worked on lyrics for Wicked, Prince of Egypt, which is one of my favorite animated films of all time.
That comes out at the end of the year, Wicked. Just saying.
It does, yeah.
Just saying.
He did the lyrics for, I think he contributed some lyrics to Hunchback of Notre Dame as well, and Enchanted. Great lyricist. He worked with Alan Menken on this one, and I adore this score. If I'm just going to bring up the track listing real quick. But the score itself, like the actual instrumentation is...
This is the thing, the score itself is great. The actual music, I'm not saying it's not great, it's not something that I think, it's got this song and this song. The score is great if you listen to all the... not behind, because that sounds wrong, but like when you listen to all the layers of it, all the layers of this music here are just behind this. It's great, but as some big songs, it just doesn't stand out for me as one big musical.
Well, I mean, you've got Just Around the River Bend, which I love that song. Colours of the Wind is the main one, definitely. I really like Savages. I think it's a good sort of like rousing, good beat song towards the end.
That is probably one of the top for me.
I actually really like Mine, Mine, Mine when they're digging for gold. I think that's really catchy. I love the choreography of that scene and how they stage it and how they animate it. It's got a lot of energy to it and the colours and everything. Virginia Company to open the film. That kind of reminds me of something from The Little Mermaid, how it opens with Fathoms Below, which I know originally was going to be a much longer song, but it's that same kind of sea shanty type song that opens the film. Both start with... Yes, yeah. I was going to say they both start with a storm at sea, but Little Mermaid doesn't start with the storm, does it? That's later on in the film where Eric...
Which one's the other one that starts with the storm at sea? There's definitely one.
Is that in Frozen?
I'm thinking of Tarzan. I'm thinking of, that...
yes, it does. Yes.
Kind of... Not monologue, that's not the right word, is it? Montage bit that we do, and that's what I was thinking of.
So, and there's even like little bits of songs in this with like Steady as the Beating Drum towards the beginning when you've got like the main title that comes up, and the Grandmother Willow's theme, Listen With Your Heart, that comes up to it. So there's like little bits. But the main one for me, and the reason that I wanted to get you to watch this version, was a little song in the film called If I Never Knew You, which is the main love theme in the song. Now, as the theatrical version of the film stands, that song is removed entirely. Where that song is where Pocahontas wishes to see a captive John Smith and have that like final moment with him. And in the movie, in the theatrical version, he says, whatever happens, I'll always be with you forever. And she leaves the tent, and that's it. That's the end of the scene. But there was actually meant to be a full song in there, which is If I Never Knew You, and it was added back into the 10th anniversary edition. You can't find this deleted scene unless you go on YouTube. Like, honestly, guys, like, this isn't even on Disney Plus, which I'm really surprised about, because sometimes they have like an extras section, don't they, I think? And you can watch some like special features or deleted scenes. They haven't even got that. But there's an interview with, I hasten to say it's one of the directors. It might be one of the directors. I can't remember. And he introduces the deleted scene. And he says, we had this in the film. It was all good to go. We animated it. But test screenings, test audiences, they got really restless during this song. And they seemed to sort of disconnect and get a bit fidgety. So we decided to remove the song. And then he said, hindsight is a powerful thing. And looking back, we feel like we removed the heart from the film. And this song was the main through line of that. So we've reinserted it into the film. And as I say, as anniversary editions go, Beauty and the Beast and this one are definitely the best. I'd say this is the most important one. I think thematically, this song needs to be in the film. Human Again is a fun song in Beauty and the Beast. And Morning Report from Lion King, we don't talk about.
Test audiences are weird, though, isn't it? Test audiences also said Joey would be good. So, we don't trust test audiences.
I still didn't watch that.
I liked the first season. The second season every episode was exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it got very boring. But on a note of thingies, songs, Savages Part 2, I would say, is mine.
Yes. Is your favourite?
Yeah, like the part 2 of it. Because it comes in 2 parts. I'd say it was always like one big song, but the part 2 bit, when they're like the drums of war and stuff they're talking about, like that's my favorite.
Well, the second part as well is where Pocahontas is racing to try and get there in time. You've got all these overlaid parts.
I think that's the conflict part. It's like everything's got to have a bit of, everything's got to have conflict. Every scene, essentially, every shot is going to have some conflict, whether it just be someone's stands up at a dinner table or something. Everything's got to have some form of conflict, and that's the big conflict. Like something's going on. This is why I always see the end it's not the big thing, or I think it's not as satisfactory as I think, is because you've got this big thing happening and then it just kind of fizzles out. That's how I see it, which is a shame, because I think there should be more of I think everyone should get shot and die. There should be more blood, but
well, people get shot in this film.
Exactly.
Cocoworm, and then there's the Native American guy that gets injured at the beginning when they don't know what the gunshot wound was. And there's no blood. There's no entry wound. There's nothing.
I want to write a Pocahontas fan fiction. There's going to be a lot of blood.
It's just blood everywhere.
I'm going to include Kingdom Hearts characters.
Well, that's probably in reality what actually happened. There probably was a lot of blood.
I'm going to include Kingdom Hearts characters in this. And they're going to come in, and then people are going to get shot in the head, and Sora's going to be scarred going to his next world and just being like, I don't know what I just saw, guys. I don't know what I just saw.
PTSD.
But he's going to be in like he's going to meet up with like Toy Story again. He's going to be there and just be like, you okay? I'll be like, yeah, I'm good. Right. And he's seen all that shit, but they're all just toys. They haven't fucking clue what's going on. So it's these like two worlds like just meeting, and just it's like Robot Chicken when they turn Buzz into a bong. You've seen that? Yeah. It's like
Good
that.
night, sweet prince.
Yeah.
Hello, day.
Yeah, it's like
that. You mentioned that Savages Part 2. The thing that I thought was really interesting when we were watching it, and you said this out loud, you said it's almost like an opera. And I think it is in that part where you've got all those like singing parts overlaid, and it's building and it's building and it's bringing in themes from earlier in the film, and it's weaving them all in together.
Because did you know an opera is just singing?
I did. I told you. I told you this. Yeah,
I know. I was wondering if you were going to say that. If you were going to be like, I did actually. But yeah, so yeah, because obviously it's just singing, and like it's not just singing about in the moment; it's the whole thing, and that's like I say, because that's why it's a big conflict. It's not just singing about what's going on; it's big conflict. As a like I don't know, like a 2 minute, 3 minute, whatever, how long the song is, that carries it on its own as just a nice montage video. Like,
Yeah. Some of the lighting in that bit's great as well. You see the Native Americans getting ready for war and they're putting the war paint on. And it almost looks like that. What do you call it? Like the glow in the dark paint you get at a nightclub or something. Just how the lighting's done. It's very striking. So yeah, all the lighting and you have like the intense red sky. It almost feels very anime-ish in those parts. How you kind of get mood lighting. The bit where John Smith's fighting Cocoam, for example, and the sky's like blood red behind, and they're in natural color, but you've got the whole background's kind of in red, which highlights them in the center. It's just, yeah, it's really good stuff. Favorite song for me, I really like the melody to "If I Never Knew You," and it's weird because the theatrical version, and you even said this, this is interesting because the end credits has 2 pop song versions. Usually you only get the one, which is the pop song version of arguably the main song from that film, or one of the main songs in this film. In this film, you get 2. Theatrical version, you get "If I Never Knew You," which is weird because that song never features in the actual film, in that version at least. And then you get "Colors of the Wind." I think I really like Mine, 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 but I don't think I can say it's my favorite, but it is an entertaining one. "Colors of the Wind" that's going to be a cop-out answer if I say that, isn't it? It's either "Just Around the River Bend" or it's "Colors of the Wind." I'm probably going to go with "Colors" just because that really sticks out, and it is a wonderful melody to it, definitely. But "Just Around the River Bend," that's the moment that gave me Disney chills last week. As I said, when I watched it, when it hits that chorus and she goes over the waterfall and the chorus ramps up, it got me. It really did. It really did. So, yeah, that's probably it for me. But I think it's a wonderful soundtrack. I really do. I love it across the board. Oh God, anything else to say about Pocahontas? It doesn't feel like we've been going over an hour actually, so we're probably coming up to what we normally talk about these films. I did want to read up more on the actual history of Pocahontas, and as I say, I know a couple of bits, and I know it's not a very pleasant story. We haven't mentioned the direct-to-video sequel that came out for this thing.
Never seen it.
In 1998. So we got Pocahontas 2, Journey to a New World. And it deals with her meeting John Rolfe.
I never watch any of these sequels because they're all crap. But I did like Little Mermaid sequel.
Oh, Journey to this. Yeah, I haven't watched that in a long time, actually, that one. But
I don't watch a lot of them. But it's like horror movies. I only watch that. I don't watch the sequels. And I feel like a lot of Disney movies are like that. Like, unless you absolutely love the first one, like, is it worth, like, maybe it is, I don't know, but like Pocahontas to me is not worth it enough to watch the sequel. And considering what you've told me, the kind of stuff happens, I'd rather just leave it there.
We are not doing a retrospective on the Disney sequels, but please, no. I can't do that to myself, especially knowing that, the film that we've got next week, we'd have to do Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, which is absolutely never happening. I can't believe I own that on video.
Never seen it. Is it not good?
It's probably the worst. That or Belle's Magical World.
But when they do a trilogy, what one's usually the best out of the trilogy? It's usually the first. But sometimes you have the second one. Depends on it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have like it's usually
the first.
The second is the one where it goes all out. Like you had World War One, then suddenly World War Two, they killed 6 million Jews, and suddenly, and then you got World War Three, which is like many years later. And it's
anticlimactic, and
it just kind of is just there, and we all die. So but like Bill and Ted 3. But did they make a third Pocahontas?
No,
just because like Little Mermaid they made 3, didn't they? Aladdin they made 3.
Unless you want to count her cameo appearance in Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet as a unofficial third one. And the original voice actress did return for that as well, which was kind of cool.
Did most of them return for that one, didn't they?
Probably, a lot of them are still around. Yeah. Well,
the best
you wouldn't have Cinderella or Snow White now, would you?
Yeah, the best one is Alice, because she still does whatever her name is, even though she's like 90.
Yeah.
She still does Alice.
That's great.
So that's a good one. Has Alice seen Wreck-It Ralph too?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll just pick the one character that's not.
She's not she's a princess of light in Kingdom Hearts, but she's not a princess in actual
That's
Disney.
why I always see her as a princess now. She's a princess of heart. I'm still upset that Pocahontas isn't Princess Heart. She should be.
I'm annoyed that but then she is in. Oh no, it's just all the Disney heroines, isn't it? In Wreck-It Ralph, it's not just necessarily princesses. It's Yeah, because you've got like
Well, yeah,
Mulan
'cause-
in there, haven't you? Mulan's there, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elsa, because
Yeah.
Hold on, where here are Disney princesses? Because there's going to be a whole like it's going to show all of them. Oh, there you go. I can see them all. You've got Ariel, Rapunzel, Pocahontas is in there. Yeah, Jasmine has a really big nose. Interesting. Yeah, Aurora, whatever Princess Frog's name is.
But they've got Merida as well, haven't they?
That's
from
it. They got Merida,
Pixar.
Belle, and why does Cinderella look weird? Like they all CGI, I get that, but she looks ultra weird.
I hate that. I hate that.
Because that's not even just a bit weird. That's weird.
Yeah, she looks very modern.
She looks like if you cross Barbie with like those babies, the toys of the babies that you get.
Yeah,
that's what she looks like.
Yeah,
and then you got Rapunzel taking a selfie.
That's why they just don't work in that animation. I'm sorry, they just really don't.
Meredith shouldn't be there. I don't know why she's there. But anyway,
she's counted as a Disney princess because Pixar and Disney emerged now into
Alice
one apparently.
There. What's going on, man?
Yeah, because she's
Alice is cool. I still want to see her with an axe in her head. That's gonna be a tattoo I get. Alice in Wonderland with an axe straight through her head and then. Don't know why.
Are we gonna get Gimli's axe off the wall again to demonstrate
to
what that tattoo's gonna look like?
What this is gonna look like, and it's gonna be great.
For the sake of this demonstration, Chris, you are going to play Alice. Oh fuck. Yeah, I think that's. I feel like we talked everything about this film. I don't think there's anything.
There's not much more that happens.
We're skipping.
Because the thing is about this, there's not actually a lot that happens in it. There's not.
I was going to say, do you have an early? Because we usually open with this, but I guess we'll end with this today. Do you remember watching this as a young'un? Do you have like a distinctive childhood memory with this film?
Not really. I remember watching it, but I don't remember like, it was a movie. Like for instance, Beauty and the Beast, I always knew. I always watched that, and it was one that had the biggest advertisement fucking commercial bollocks. Always like the diamond edition, the limited edition, all that sort of stuff. But Pokemon, it was I just remember watching it a couple of times, like maybe once, maybe twice. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, but nothing that stands out. I always remember, like I said, when in Kingdom Hearts I played it and she wasn't there, I thought, there's a woman missing.
So I'm actually just checking if there were any McDonald's toys for Pocahontas, and apparently there were. I don't remember having any of these. I don't think. I kind of remember that Radcliffe one vaguely, but I might be thinking of like Zurg or something because he's the same kind of stature and the same same color scheme.
That really pisses me off about Toy Story though, because Toy Story, they're all toys, right?
Yeah.
Now you can get them, but when I was a kid, you were never able to get like Woody with a pull string. It was always like you press it, and I'm like, but he's pull string in the movie, and it's like, oh yeah, but this is a toy. It's like, yeah, but in the movie he's a toy.
They do in the modern toys. They do.
Yeah, in the modern toys.
But my old one didn't.
Exactly. Back in the day,
it had the pull string, but it was like attached to his back, like it wasn't actual
string. That's what I mean. Like exactly. So you could never they were toys, but the toys that you could get were never the same as the toys in the movie, which doesn't make sense because all you have to do is make the thing. That's it. It just didn't make sense. It's the same with like Buzz Lightyear. You could never there was always a difference. Like you'd have one, but his wings were always out, and it's like, but that's not Buzz Lightyear. Or I had a silver one. Why the fuck's there a silver one? I don't know. Or like Zurg, he's that big, and I'm like, but that's not actually Zurg.
It's massive in the box.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember one day, and I was a kid at this point, so they made him early on. I did get a normal big Zurg, and you could look, the thing where it shows you through the back, you can look at. I did get one of them when I was a kid, and I was so happy because I was like, this is actually a movie accurate one. None of the others are. Why? Toy Story, a movie about toys. Why would none of the fucking toys accurate? It just doesn't make sense. And also, another thing about Toy Story is, Lightyear, that movie, right? Why are the toys based on Lightyear completely different from this? So basically, you got Toy Story, so you got Buzz Lightyear as a toy. This is toy Buzz Lightyear. In Lightyear, he looks different because it's like, okay, he's based on human, like whatever. And then they make a toy of that. Surely the toy of that should just be Toy Story toy because that's the toy. But they made a toy look exactly the same as human form. So the toy of Buzz Lightyear is not Buzz Lightyear the toy. It just makes no sense.
I thought that was the whole concept of why they made that film in the first place.
Exactly, to make a toy, but then the toy that they made looks nothing like. It's just weird. I don't know. But Toy Story, as much as I love Toy Story, they never got the toys right. I never understand it.
They have now. You can buy. Yeah. They're in like the accurate boxes that you see, like the big spaceship shaped one that Buzz comes in. Like it's in that with all the writing on the back.
It just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I also wish all toys were the same size because I remember when I like played with like toys and stuff. Like you'd have one that big, and then you have the bit, and you're like, "But why?" It just didn't make sense. And it really annoyed me because when I watched Toy Story, they were all the same size. They could all like talk to each other. But imagine that. Imagine Toy Story's real. When you leave, all your toys get up and talk. You'd have your little one like that, and you big fucker, and they'd be like, "Hi." It just wouldn't make any sense.
It's like it's Godzilla.
Yeah, it just wouldn't make sense. Especially imagine you had little Bo Peep if she was that big and you had Big Woody.
Mm.
They'd be like, "How are we supposed to like do things? No, we can't do it. You're really small."
You just said Big Woody. How are we going to do things? You're too small.
Big Woody.
Someone's going to tune in right at that point and be like, what are we talking about? Pocahontas, it says at the bottom. Early childhood memories for me. I don't remember the first time that I watched this film. I don't remember the McDonald's toys all that well. I've looked at them now. I'm pretty sure I never had any of those. So I don't know what the marketing was like for this film. I seem to remember a couple of my old Disney films had a bit of a trailer for Pocahontas. It was like, from the same people that brought you Aladdin and The Little Mermaid comes a brand
Who does
new.
that voice?
I don't know.
Is there a singular person or is it just?
He's probably dead now.
I'm saying, is it a singular person that does it?
No, there's probably a few. They train them up to have like movie voices. There's like elocution lessons of how to sound like a badass.
It's like if you've seen that guy EA Sports, like the guy that does it properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he probably there's just a couple of people. There's the chosen few, all from the same family.
You notice you don't really get the movie trailer voiceover guy anymore in trailers. No. It's all
the
just
EA Sports guy anymore.
I think they still do EA Sports.
I don't play sports games, but
I'm pretty sure they do.
I don't know. But yeah, you don't get the movie trailer guy.
But one of my earliest memories of this, apparently, when I was a young'un, I used to just sing Disney songs sometimes. Even when I'm an older now, I sing Disney songs because why not? But apparently, my granny, when she was alive, I remember her always bringing this up. She said, "Oh, when you were young, you always used to sing Circle of Life and Colors of the Wind." So I must have seen the film or at least heard that song. I don't know if I had like a Disney CD or something. It was probably just from the film. And yeah, I must have rinsed it enough to know what the lyrics are. And I probably did know what all the lyrics were back then. I'm pretty sure I did because I used to watch them that many times. And even now, what was it? Oh, Home and Away, the soap. Yeah. I haven't heard that song in forever. And it was always on in the back. I never even watched Home and Away. My mom did. And it would be on in the background a lot growing up. But you put it on earlier and all of a sudden all the lyrics came right back to me.
Yep.
And I genuinely probably haven't heard that song in about 15 years or maybe even more. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It was really good. It's a really good bit of music. So that's probably my earliest childhood memory of Pocahontas. And that...
I thought you were going to... That's probably my favourite TV thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that'll do it for Pocahontas. So I guess like just to sum up, overall thoughts on this one.
I give it a 7 out of 10.
I think that's fair.
It is above average. It is like as an overall movie, it's a good movie. There's just nothing stand out about it. It's just kind of like, all right, cool. Like it's good, and you can acknowledge it's good, and it sits well. The music's good. It's one of them. It's kind of like different reference, as like I've already referenced Van Halen, but there's a Reckless Love song very very similar that came out, and the guitars were great, and I was like, all right, the guitar's wicked. The chorus was amazing, but I listened to the end of the song, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, but why? I was like, because if you ask me about the guitars, they're fucking amazing. Chorus, amazing. The solo, do you know what? Really cool. And I'm like, but it was it was one of those, like, do you know what I mean? Like all the pieces go together. It's just one of them, I think, where it's good. It's not something you go back to constantly and go, this is an amazing movie. Whereas Beauty and the Beast, you go, it's amazing. It's this. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those of cool.
Yeah.
You don't regret watching it. You're not going to have a bad time. You're going to have a very good time watching it. But are you going to go back every, couple of months? Probably not. I'm not.
I think that's fair. I think 7 out of 10 is very fair for this film. There are some things that stand out for me in this film. The animation is incredible.
The reference I made to Fair Warning, by the way, one of my favorite Van Halen albums. That wasn't me comparing it, saying that. That was just a comparison to the way the world saw it. But continue.
Yes. Yeah, so there are some standout things for me in this film, like the animation, the colors, as I say, like that's still shot in the background of this video, stuff like that. It looks amazing. The voice talent is brilliant and works. The vocal talent too. The music, Alan Menken, wonderful. One of my favorite Menken scores. I think it's amazing for the film. But I think it's the characters, honestly. I think it's the choice to make this film is a very strange one for Disney, especially in the series of films they had up until this point and the formula that they'd kind of found. I think this is a very strange one that got okayed. When you see some of the ones that get straight up rejected, or they go, okay, we'll do that, but put it on the back burner or do that with it. But this one, if you know, so let's get some ideas. Okay, a film set in Africa about lions. Cool. Okay, yeah, we'll go with that one. Let's see, Aladdin. Yeah, sure. You know, fairy tale. Sure. And someone says, I want to make a Disney film based on the real life historical figure of Pocahontas.
We should make a Joan of Arc one.
And the atrocities that happened to her. Yeah, and you're like, excuse me, what? We're a family company? Like, why do we want to do that? So I can see different sides to it. I can see that if you're going to make a film on Pocahontas, but you're making a family picture, so you can't go into the actual real life historical events because it's too harrowing and it's incredibly mean-spirited and fucking horrible what happened. So you can't go into that. You can't tell the actual historical events. You've got to Disney-fy it a little bit. You've got to completely change the story. You've got to create a romance that wasn't there in the first place because, hell, Pocahontas at this point in life was about 10 to 12 years old. And, yeah, and, you know, like married to John Rolfe, but we're going to cut him out of this one. We're going to focus on John Smith, and it's all over the place. So I can see it just being a very strange choice. So maybe that's part of what's in the back of my mind for this film as to why I just find it a little bit unremarkable. But even that aside, like, let's say I'm cool and on board with Pocahontas as an idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be historically accurate because some of my favorite films, as I mentioned, with like Braveheart, aren't accurate
That's
at
my
all.
favourite one.
And I still really like. For fuck's sake.
That's my favourite one.
Are we doing this?
Yeah.
We're doing this. Okay.
I can't do it.
Hang on. Oh God. Here's where we get cancelled. Fuck it, in for a penny, in for a pound.
That's my favourite one. If you're gonna go through like
It's diverse.
yeah,
I'll give it that.
If you're gonna go through historic accurate ones that maybe should they get made, I don't know. Give it a go.
I think for me the big one with this is just characters. I don't think they're particularly memorable or remarkable in any way. I think they're quite one-dimensional, and that's not to say they're bad. I just when you say who's your favorite character from this film, you're like, oh, and it's just a bit.
Stellar Blade did that. It was one of those games where it was really great. It was great to play in a lot of ways, but none of the characters were anything special.
Yeah.
They were all there. They were all good. Like the main character, she was really cool. She was really cool to play as. You know, you had this, and then there was this character. You're like, oh, they're really cool, but they were nothing of like. If you say who's your favorite, it's like, well, you know what I mean. And if you say anything about the story, you go, no, it was cool. Like, you know what I mean? That's it. It's very, but that's not to say it's bad, because sometimes you need stories like that. Like, not everything needs to be a groundbreaking blockbuster. Sometimes they are just there, but it's handled very well. It's not just there where it drops off and you think, oh, it was a waste of time. It's still a very, very enjoyable thing to watch.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about next week's, which we might as well, announce now, as I've said. So next week, we've got my favorite Disney film out of all of them. Well, it's the one that I think is the best. But my favorite is probably the more traditional fairy tale one of Beauty and the Beast. But this is what I think is the best thing Walt Disney Animation Studios has ever made.
Sliced bread.
And even this one, like Pocahontas, I think that Victor Hugo's story of The Hunchback of Notre Dame is an incredibly random choice for Disney to do as an animated film. But the characters are so complex and well written that I think that's what gives this the edge over Pocahontas. Both are a strange choice for the company to make, but the characters are actually well-rounded, incredibly well-written, and have and multifaceted characters and complex in this film. Whereas Pocahontas really doesn't have that in any way. So I think that's probably where the disconnect's coming from. And maybe, as I've said, by the end of this review, I'd help formulate what is that disconnect with me with this film with Pocahontas, and I think we got there. So that'll do it for our review on Pocahontas. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts on this film. Is it one of your favorites? Where do you think it stacks up with the Disney Renaissance and all the other Disney movies? Favorite characters, favorite songs, anything regarding this film or really any other Disney film? Because we are going to be continuing this retrospective for a good amount of weeks, for about halfway through. Yeah, just over halfway through. Probably bang on halfway through at this point.
So that's another 20. We'll be in November.
Oh, we'll go past that, yeah, because we started in October last year, and if we're halfway through,
because that's when its 20th anniversary is.
We're gonna work this out. I want to work this out when it's gonna finish.
It won't be
we can
20th
work it out.
anniversary. It'll be 10th anniversary,
And then we can think about if we want to do another retrospective. I've got an idea of which one I'd like to do. I've got a couple of retrospectives I'd like to do, so I can run those by you. But we need to get this one done first. We'll just get this one done first. So
We need to review Nosferatu.
yes, we will. We can review the original and the new one because I'm going to be going to see
Yeah.
it. It looks great.
Yeah, because I want to compare them because I don't know how I feel about it at the moment.
Yeah, we can do that.
With any
We can do that
remakes.
close to the time, 100%. So yeah, I can bring this up now because I'm on the older streaming. So subscribe for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. So we're doing the Disney ones every Monday. At the moment, me and JX are doing reviews on Star Wars Acolyte, which, oh my God, that is a TV show. But there are going to be many more TV shows as well coming up. There's going to be Cobra Kai Season 6. The first part of that is going up on Netflix midway through July. So I'm going to be talking about that. And then in August, we've got Season 2 of The Rings of Power. I didn't say that all of these were going to be good TV shows, but there will be TV show reviews nonetheless.
There's a lot of forced character colouring in that, isn't
Oh, yeah.
there?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, that'll do it for our review. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. This is pre-recorded, so it feels weird saying tuned in because we're recording this just to a camera right now. But I hope you're all doing well. I hope you have a good evening, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everyone. And I need to let this play out for like 10 seconds before it finishes. So, yeah,
Oh, it's still going.
we've still got to go for like a few more seconds. And that'll do it.